Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Point of View. I am so happy to be here with you today. It is such a privilege and a blessing to be here with you today and have you here with me. It's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I have done something here. Dear God, as I sit before you to speak, I pray to you that my soul you will keep. And if I should die before I finish, I pray to you, dear God, in the name of Jesus, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. Amen. I am just happy, happy, happy because you're here with me. And if you're happy and you know you're happy, enjoy your life, enjoy the day. Anything that comes around is a blessing in itself. In itself. And I am going to go because I have opened two screens here. I did not intend to, but I know how to remedy that. Okay? I know how to do that. So I will do that. And I'm talking about self encouragement today. Self encouragement. The power of self encouragement, and I'm going to use psychology today. I am going to go into, there's a piece here that I see 8 techniques of studying self compassion. That is going to be good. The power of encouragement. Don't, let me tell you something. Life is so beautiful. Life is so beautiful, and it is entirely too beautiful and too awesome to let other people discourage you from getting the best out of your life. I'm telling you, life is so precious. It is so wonderful. Don't let anybody, nobody, no how, steal the joy that is waiting for you and that is afforded to you in this life and in this time. Don't do it. People love to suck the air out of people, to make people feel inferior just because they can. But don't let anybody do you like that ever again. I know we have all been, I could say, victims. We've all been somehow, somewhere, some way affected by people who want to discourage us and make us feel beneath them, make us feel that our lives are not as important as theirs. But as of today, it's not going to happen to you again. And I stopped it a long time ago by the grace of God because I believe that I am somebody. As a matter of fact, I know I am somebody, and I know you're somebody too. We're going to be in positive psychology, positivepsychology.com, and we're going to be in psychology today.com. I'm going to go right into it. I want you to continue to be encouraged. And you know, I like to quote just a few words to this song by William Beckton. Be encouraged no matter what's going on. Heal, and heal means God will make it all right. But you've got to stay strong. So we're going to talk about the power of self-encouragement. Don't be ashamed. Don't be inhibited from encouraging yourself. If you don't encourage yourself, that cannot send you too far into life. You're stunted. So begin, if you haven't been doing it, begin right now to encourage yourself. And some people say, well, she's just what is confident. He's too confident. Oh, he thinks he's something. She thinks she's something. Yes, you are something. And live your life like you are somebody. and something, okay? You are a child of God, you're a human being, and you deserve the right to be happy and to empowered, and you empower yourself by encouraging yourself, okay? The power of self encouragement. This is Psychology Today. This piece is written by Beverly Engel, MLMFT. The Compassion Chronicles, that's what it came from. The power of self encouragement. Using self compassion to help achieve your goals. If you don't do it, nobody can achieve your goals for you. You might give somebody a plan, you might tell them how to do it, but if you don't do it, they might get results and you might be okay with those results. But if you don't do it, then you cannot get that satisfaction and the results that you would get if you don't do it. And that's success. Nobody can do what you do for you like you can do it. Okay? So encourage yourself. Empower yourself by encouraging yourself. No more self pity, none of that. Okay? You are strong, you are beautiful, you are smart, intelligent, and all of the positive things that go with it and alongside it. All right? Encouragement, the power of self encouragement, using self compassion to help achieve your goals. And this was written in December in 2018. All right? So we're going there, and these are always good. However many years it is, it's good for today too. If everyone receives the encouragement they need to grow, the genius in most everyone would blossom and the world would produce abundance beyond our wildest dreams. And it would. Just think if everybody used that power of encouragement that is within them, things would be going on that, like we say, it'd be beyond our greatest belief, beyond what we could even imagine. So that quote is by Sidney Madwed. We all have goals, we all have dreams. At this time of the year, and like it was in December when this was written, we often examine our lives and assess our progress toward these goals. And now we just don't want to wait until the Christmas season, the Easter season, any of the holy days. We want to have every day to be a day that we think of these things. How can I do better for myself today? Now, not to your detriment. Don't go overboard with it, okay? Everything should be done in moderation, all right? So, we take the holidays and we think of our lives and we assess our progress toward our goals. And we often feel disappointed and become critical of ourselves when we realize we haven't reached the goals uh, we set and the dreams for the coming year using self compassion as your motivator. Okay, so now we're disappointed and we become critical of ourselves when we realize we haven't reached the goals we set for the past year. Now, this article here is about how to encourage yourself to reach your goals and dreams for the coming year using self compassion as your motivation. Okay? Using self compassion as your motivation. Now, whether your goal, excuse me, is to stop letting people walk all over you, stop being abusive, get the courage and strength to leave an abusive relationship, stop drinking, taking drugs, or end another kind of addiction, stop other destructive or self defeating behavior, or simply become the best version of yourself you can be. Self encouragement can help you accomplish your goals. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're talking about the power of self encouragement. Encourage yourself. Don't let people shame you into not encouraging yourself. People will try to shame you really to keep you from feeling good about yourself. Some people want to keep you under their thumb. We know all about that, don't we? Some people want to keep you under their thumb. Let me get up here. See, I know I'm still on here. Some people want to keep you under their thumb. They want you to be discouraged. They don't want you to think that you are somebody, that you are important. But let me tell you this, take it from me. You are somebody, you are important, and I am grateful for you and your life today. I certainly am. And this, my here, I know I'm live. There's just something going on here where I cannot get to my screen here like I want to. So let me see here. But I know I'm live, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to go on with this webcast talked about the power of encouraging yourself. The power of encouraging yourself. Encourage yourself. Continue to encourage yourself. You are awesome. You are super. And don't you forget it. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. I'm trying to get to here to monitor, but I don't see where I'm live, but I know that I am. So let me go back, go back. Now let me try it again because I like to monitor. I like to see and see your comments. There they are. All right. All right. Hi, cousin Ronnie. Hi. Thank you for being with me. God bless you. I am so glad you're encouraged. I want you to be. You know I be praying for you, don't you? And I know you pray for me out in San Francisco. All right. I'm going to go ahead and talk about being encouraged. And self encouragement is very important. If we don't encourage ourselves, people can't do for us what we can do for ourselves, okay? In ways like that. Many things have to come from within us. So the writer said in my book, it wasn't your fault. Freeing yourself from the shame of childhood abuse with the power of self compassion. I outlined five components. This is the writer talking of self compassion, self understanding, self forgiveness, self acceptance, self kindness, and self encouragement. Self encouragement is not only an important step itself, but it underscores and strengthens each of the other components of self compassion. That self encouragement, that's the base, okay? That is the foundation of all the other things, emotions, and all of that that make you feel good about yourself. Self compassion, self encouragement. Without self encouragement, you will tend to slip back into your old habits of self blaming and self criticizing instead of using self compassion to motivate you to continue on your healing journey. You have to be motivated, and that motivation, self compassion, self encouragement comes from you. It comes from you yourself, comes from me, myself, and I. Okay? It comes from within. It comes from within. So if you And they use the word lucky here, okay? And we know that we use the word blessed, all right? If you were lucky, you may have met one of two people as you were growing up who encouraged you, a teacher, a coach, a grandparent. And I'm going to have to turn my camera off and probably turn my microphone off because it seems as if I am going to sneeze or cough or something, so I need to take a drink. So I'm going to do this for a few seconds, so just hold on with me, okay? Just hang on. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It just felt like something was trying to make me cough, something like that. And it is humid here in Texas, and we're supposed to have storms again today. But I think it might be my allergies trying to bug me, but I'm going to be okay. I am okay. Okay? Now, in your life, and you can think of somebody that you've met that has really you, and even today, and even in our ages, so some of us have reached the three score and ten plus, and we can still think of people who have been a great encouragement, a great role model in our lives. At first, I want to say my mommy and my daddy, and then outside the home teachers, some saints, yes, have encouraged me and been good for my life, for my life. And my brothers and sisters, I cannot leave them out. And my cousins, yes. Others of you may have only had people around you who tore you down and discouraged you. And believe it or not, some of us may not realize that there are people in this world who strive, get their strength from tearing people down and discouraging them because that helps their so-called self-esteem. If they can get you torn down and you discouraged, then that makes them feel, that builds them up, they think, and makes them feel that they are superior to you. So others of you may have only had people around you who tore you down and discouraged you. Unfortunately, the effect of that criticism or discouragement may have been mild compared to what goes inside your own head. For that reason, in this article, we will not only focus on self encouragement, but continue focusing on eliminating the self critical voices in your head, the voices that continue to tell you that there is something wrong with you, that you are not as good as everyone else, the voices that tell you you can't accomplish what you set out to do, and that you don't deserve good things. Those voices, they come to us and they tell us, you can't do that. No need of you thinking of that. You know you can't do that. How are you going to do that? These voices, and you know what we have to do is we have to tell those voices, stop. And you know how we do it. The saints say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. You thoughts, you discouraging thoughts, and all that I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And just sometimes you might have to physically shake your head. Just don't shake it till it makes your brain hurt. But just, no, those thoughts will not be in my mind. They will not stay in my mind. And it's amazing to me, and all of us go through this. Every single person. You could just be going about your everyday life like you're always doing. Some old evil, wicked thought comes to mind. And so that lets us know that there's another entity out here that is not good because it puts evil thoughts in our minds to try to distract us from having a positive day or night or whenever it comes into our minds. But let me tell you something, be encouraged no matter what's going on because it's going to be all right. But you have got to stay strong. Now, how your shame has been a disability. I was reading and I saw it go across my phone, a headline. It said one of the prominent pastors, a leader here in Dallas, and then a few weeks ago I heard of another, has for some, there's something in his past that evidently has been weighting him down, and so I read the report, I heard it on the news that he is stepping away from the leadership role of his ministry to work on something that he did many years ago. But he did say that it was not something that broke the law, but there's something that's got him weighted down. And he said stepping away from now to work on that and work on himself. So how your shame has been a disability, there's some kind of shame there. There's something weighing him down. So, as much as we all have dreams, we also have regrets. And so, even though it's weighing him down, he has owned up to the fact that it is weighty on him and that he needs to work on it. So, he does admit that there is a problem, and that is the first step. Okay? So, as much as we all have dreams, we also have regrets. Things we wish we would have done, things we wish we had not done. One of the things that this author here says that she regrets is never learning to surf. Never learning to surf. So she said, I didn't learn to surf because I was afraid. I have never felt that comfortable in my body. Have always felt awkward. She said, I've had problems with my weight all my life, and physical education in school was a source of deep shame for me. So even though I can't surf, she says, I have taken to going down to the ocean almost every day to watch the surface. She said, I get a vicarious thrill from watching them glide across the waves. See there, at least she goes down and watches it, huh? She said, one day I parked my car at my usual place, a parking lot overlooking the beach, ready to watch the surface and write in my journal. And she said, right in front of and just below me, I immediately saw a man sitting on the beach, taking off his wetsuit, a surfboard by his side. I noticed right away that his legs did not move. They seemed to be paralyzed. She said, I marveled at how he could have maneuvered his surfboard out into the ocean and wished I had been there earlier to see how he used his board. She said, I deeply admired this man's courage and determination. She said, I looked around to see if he had a wheelchair nearby and if there might not be an attendant with him. She said, I spotted the wheelchair perhaps 20 feet away, but no attendant in sight. The man continued to work on his wetsuit, and she said, I imagined him having to crawl to get to the wheelchair if no attendant appeared. She said, all of a sudden, A young man ran down the rocks from the parking lot and asked the man if he needed help. She said, I saw the surfer motion up to the parking lot and figured out that he was indicating went, where the young man could take his surfboard. Then the young man went over to the wheelchair and pushed it toward the surfer. The surfer maneuvered himself into his chair, and the young man picked up the surfboard and climbed the rocks to the parking lot. My goodness. Whoa. What is motivation? The basics, the basics. What is motivation? Okay, then, ever so slowly, she said, I watched as the surfer pushed himself in his wheelchair through the sand. He had a fairly long way to go since the beach was quite wide. He just kept pushing himself to help him. Oh, wait a minute. Let me do this. He just kept pushing himself through the sand, stopping periodically to rest. She said, I didn't notice anyone stopping to help him. I looked away to watch the other surfers, and when I looked back, I noticed he had made his way to the bottom of a sandy embankment. I wondered again if an attendant was going to meet him and help him up the hill to another parking lot. The man stopped there for quite a while, and I figured he must be resting from his long trek through the sand. Just as suddenly as the first young man appeared, a second man approached the surfer and began to help push the chair up the hill. At first, they were having quite a lot of problems, so the man turned the chair around and worked for a while, but uh, I'm my scrolling here is messing with me. I'm scrolling too fast. Okay, let me take my time here. Okay, at first they were having quite a lot of problems, so the man turned the chair around and began to pull the chair up the hill. That worked for a while, but as they proceeded up the hill, that maneuver stopped working. So he once again turned the chair around and started pushing. The surfer started using his arms to help push himself along, but the hill proved to be too steep. Then a young woman came along, and all three of them managed to slowly make it up the hill. She said, I felt so triumphant as I saw them reach the top. They didn't give up, did they? They did not give up. So the entire scene moved me deeply. We're talking about self encouragement. Self encouragement, okay? This entire scene moved me deeply. I will tell you why in a few minutes, but before I do, I want to ask you, the writer it said, I'll tell you why it moved you deeply. But for right now, I'm going to ask you, how did you feel as you read about the serpent? Did it make you feel guilty because you have two good legs but don't appreciate them enough? Did it make you feel guilty because you don't try harder to reach your goals? Those are some nice questions to ask. Were you moved by the surface courage and determination so much that it inspired you to work harder to reach your goals? The way you responded tells you a lot about yourself. Oh, yes, it does. If the story made you feel guilty, it is because you are being self critical. You hear that? She says, if the story made you feel guilty, it's because you're self critical. You used this story to provide you with further evidence of how lazy or inadequate or unappreciative you are. Or you felt guilty because you compared yourself with the surfer. Your thinking might have been something like this. Here was someone who continued trying to reach the goal, in spite of his obvious disability, and yet I have given up on my goals and I don't even have a good reason. So if you didn't feel guilty, but instead felt moved and inspired by the surfer, you are on the right track. Self encouragement is all about courage and determination. Self encouragement is all about courage and determination. So while it is great to be inspired by the courage and determination of other people who have overcome disabilities, one of the goals of this article is for you to become inspired by your own courage and determination. This is nice, isn't it? This is so nice. This is so nice. So, of course, we don't know the surface story. No, we don't know the surface story. We don't know if he had been disabled all his life and had painstakingly learned how to surf in spite of his disability, or whether he had been a surfer who had a tragic accident. We don't know if he had a loving family who supported him emotionally and gave him the strength and courage and determination to overcome his disability in order to reach his dreams, or if he had triumphed in spite of a neglectful or abusive childhood, as so many of you reading this article have done. There have been so many people who have overcome so many trials of life. Look where you are now. Continue to encourage yourself. So, what we do know is this man really wanted to serve, and unlike me, the writer said, unlike herself, he wanted to serve so much that he overcame his disability to do it. So she said, make no mistake about it. The abuse you suffered as a child, if you're one who was abused in your childhood, and the shame you have been carrying around because of it have caused you to have a disability just as the surfer does. It doesn't have to be a physical disability, it can be a mental disability, an emotional disability. Oh, yes. And it is not intended to minimize the difficulties the surfer has to endure each day of his life. Your shame has blinded you to your good qualities and caused you to view the world in a distorted way, as surely as if you had been physically blinded. And some people, have you ever been around people who are just downing themselves, or they stand back and they look and it looks as if they, ooh, I wish I could do that. Ooh, if I could only do that. Stop it. Stop it. If you're one of those people, and encourage yourself as of this microsecond. Encourage yourself. Your shame prevented you from hearing the positive, kind things that people who cared about you told you, as surely as if you were hard of hearing. And your shame crippled you and prevented you from reaching your full physical and emotional potential as much as any physical handicap would have. My goodness. So now we got that straight. You know what's going on now, okay? Now, life without your handicap. Let's look at that. Life without your handicap. We're still in psychology today, and we're still talking about self encouragement. Unlike people who have physical disabilities they cannot change, there's a real hope for you in terms of minimizing or even eliminating the effects of the emotional handicaps those of you who were abused in childhood have suffered with all your life. Those things that you have suffered with all your life. As you work toward diminishing your shame, you have the opportunity to see what life could have been like without your handicaps. And I remember I heard one time, well, as a matter of fact, someone told me that this person told a child that they wished that the child had never been born. That's a hard thing, isn't it? That's a hard thing to say to anybody, especially a child and your child. These things scar people forever. They do. So if you are one of those who is carrying those scars around, this is for you. You have the opportunity to see what life could have been like without your handicap. It is not as if you can go back and if you can erase your childhood and start over. The abuse has left scars that may never heal. And that's a fact. And we have to realize that. They might not heal, but you can move on in a positive direction, okay? But without the shame attached to the abuse, you can now see more clearly, hear more clearly, and move your body more freely. Now, nothing can hold you back but habit and perhaps the fear of your newfound freedom. Hey, nothing can hold you back but habit and perhaps the fear of your newfound freedom. And I heard someone say the other day, we've heard this quote from just much of our lives. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Okay? So she said, I didn't tell you the story of the surfer to make you feel guilty or ashamed because you have allowed your disability to stop you from doing the things you wanted to do. That isn't the point. Neither is it to make you feel badly because you don't feel grateful that you have legs at work. And she said, I told you the story because it symbolizes how difficult your struggle has been and how much you have accomplished in spite of your handicaps. That's my spoiled critter down there. So think of all the negative messages you heard and all the negative messages you took on due to your shame. Now think of all the things you have accomplished in your life in spite of the shame you carry, in spite of the critical voices in your head, in spite of the fact that you were raised to believe you couldn't accomplish what you wanted. In spite of that, look where you are. I'm going to have to take a few seconds here, a few seconds, so you will uh, give me these few seconds, please. I'm going to cut the camera off. Okay, I let him out, and he just came right on back in. All right, thank you so much for being patient with me. Thank you. I don't look like I'm centered here, but that's okay. Let me see if I can do this camera. I need to be centered. I need to be centered. Okay. Now, talking about self encouragement. Now, imagine, I'm going to go here, that all this shame and all these negative messages as a giant hump on your back. Imagine that. That all the negative messages and all the shame, imagine that being a giant hump on your back. She says, I want you to really see and feel that hump. Feel how much more difficult it has been to navigate your life carrying around that extra weight on your back. Think of how that extra weight drained you of energy and made it difficult to do many physical tasks. Think of how awkward you have felt with that hump, how much it has gotten in your way of doing even the easiest things. Now think about how embarrassed you have been with that hump on your back, how you have imagined that people were staring at you and making fun of you because of it. Think of how often you stayed home and isolated yourself rather than venturing out and risking people's stares. That hump is your shame, slowing you down, making your life difficult, causing you to feel awkward and different and unacceptable. Man, that is some kind of hump, isn't it? That is a weight. And so many people, we're so many times we're hopefully we're 24/7 taking care of our own businesses. Sometimes we don't think of how weighted down some other people are because we're so, what is it? We're taking care of ourselves. We're taking care of ourselves. And that's what we should be doing, watching ourselves, taking care of ourselves, but then don't ever forget about your fellow man, woman, boy, girl, because somebody needs your encouragement right now. Somebody needs your prayers for them right now. Somebody needs to be delivered from this that we're talking about, this shame, this disgrace, these memories. Somebody needs to be delivered from that hump. Now imagine how much better you will feel with that hump off your back. Notice how much lighter you feel, how much freer you feel to move around, how much you blend in with everyone else. No need to fear that others will stare at you or judge you. This is hopefully where you can get by continuing to work on your shame, whatever that shame is. Whatever the shame is, continue to work on it. You will no longer feel weighted down with shame, no longer made to feel different or disgusting. You will no longer have to hide. You don't need to continue isolating yourself from others. You can go out into the sunshine with your head held high. Oh, yes, you can. You can go out into the sunshine with your head held high. Unfortunately, since you have had this hump on your back for so long, you may forget that you no longer have it. You may still act like it is still there. This is really covering it, isn't it? This is a superb article right here. This is from Psychology Today, okay? And so you will need constant reminders that it is gone. Remember, the hump is gone. You no longer have that hump. That hump is not weighing you down. The hump is gone. Okay? You will need encouragement to break old habits such as isolating yourself, assuming that others are being uh, critical, and telling yourself you can't do something. This is what self encouragement is about. It's about all those things, isn't it? Self encouragement is about building yourself up instead of tearing yourself down. It is like being a loving parent to yourself. You hear that? It's like being a loving parent to yourself, a parent who sees her child's potential and wants to nurture it, a parent who feels proud of her child when he achieves his goals instead of feeling envy or resentment because she never achieved her own. Saying to you, who never felt like this, who felt like no one was ever proud of you, couldn't imagine the how a parent could be proud of you. Shake it off and pack it under your feet. That hump is gone. Imagine encouraging yourself, telling yourself, I will not feel like that anymore. That will not possess me anymore. Every time a thought like that comes to my mind, I'm going to shake it off. I'm going to rebuke it. Yes, I am. It cannot stay with me. It will never dwell inside me again. All right? So, self encouragement is believing in yourself and in your ability to overcome your limitations and handicaps. Self encouragement is focusing on your strengths, positive attributes, and skills instead of your weaknesses and limitations. I have to say that again. Self encouragement is focusing on your strengths, your positive attributes, and skills instead of weaknesses and limitations. You're not going to dwell on those weaknesses and limitations anymore, okay? Self encouragement involves making sure that you surround yourself with people who will encourage you instead of finding fault. People who are not threatened by your successes. See, this is what causes people to try to, well, not try, but anyway, to throw negative vibes at you because they're jealous of you, jealous of who you are, jealous because you're successful at life, period. That you encourage yourself and that you are happy and proud of yourself, not proud to the extent that it is annoying and is detrimental to your health in all around ways, but you are proud, you are happy. Okay? So some people cannot stand you being like that. So surround yourself with people who will encourage you instead of finding fault, people who are not threatened by your successes. And self encouragement is focusing on what you have accomplished instead of what you have not. She said, I will provide more information on how to practice self encouragement, she said, in a forthcoming article. This is super, isn't it? This is awesome. And Beverly Engel, Engel, has been a therapist specializing in abuse issues for the past 35 years. When this was, that was 2018, I believe, when she published this. She's the author of numerous self help books, including her latest book, Freedom at Last: Healing the Shame of Childhood Sexual Abuse, Escaping Emotional Abuse, and It Wasn't Your Fault. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. Okay? Now, oh my goodness, that is so good. So now I'm going to go to this new page here that I had, I think maybe I have been in the positivepsychology.com before. I think I have. I'm not sure. But I'm going to how to practice self compassion, 8 techniques and tips. And then we're going to be done for today. This was published by Catherine Moore, a psychologist, MBA, on the 2nd of June in 2019. In 2019. All right. I got some things I need to get off of this page here. Things keep, you know how these ads keep popping up. So let me make sure that I get this ad off of here. Okay, it disappeared. It disappeared. All right, let me go. So, 8 tips and techniques of how to practice self compassion. We're talking about encouraging yourself. Have you ever lost your temper at yourself, blamed, and then beat yourself up a little inside for doing something you regret? Have you ever done that? I think probably we've all done that. But to the point, mom and daddy raised us where we would not self sabotage ourselves. And have you ever heard people say, I'm stupid, and hit themselves and all this hitting their head? Have you ever seen people do that? Our parents, ooh, nowhere in the world would we do anything like that. I thank God for mom and daddy. I really do. I really do. Because they taught us to love ourselves and love each other. Okay? Have you ever lost your temper? Maybe you've been harsh with someone only to be much harsher with yourself later. I think we've probably done those things too. Let me increase my font so I can read this really good. Maybe you've been harsh with someone only to be much harsher with yourself later. It's easy to be tough on yourself. We tend to do it much, much more than we realize. But what if there was a better way? When we forgive ourselves, accept our perceived flaws, and show ourselves kindness, we practice self compassion. So it's often a lot harder than it sounds, but with the right techniques, we can learn to make it a habit that sticks. Make it a habit that sticks. If you ever judge or criticize yourself for no justifiable reason, some of these techniques could be available or could be valuable also. Some might not be your cup of tea, but others might resonate and come in handy when you least expect it. Read on, we're going to read on, find out how to practice self compassion with tips and exercises. Then tell us what works for you. Okay? So you can go to this here before you continue. And she said, we thought we might like to down, you might like, there are 3 self-compassion exercises that they have. So if you'd like to go there and do this. Now, in this article, it tells us how to have and show self-compassion. How can we best practice self-compassion? And then 8 tips and techniques for practicing self-compassion. And then there's a step-by-step guide to self-compassion by Kirsten Neff. All right, so we're going right on into it. Uh, then also it says that there are 13 plus useful resources, 4 books, and then what are self-compassion affirmations? Are they valid? 11 self-compassion affirmations to practice how mindfulness secrets help practicing self-compassion. Are there proven benefits for writing a self-compassion letter? 3 examples self-compassion of Compassion letters, 13 journal prompts, a take home message, and then there are references. So, how to have and show self compassion. These earbuds right here, I know those things, the little rubber things on the end. I might need one that's just a little small, or two, one for each ear. Self compassion is a positive attitude we can have towards ourselves, and it's also an empirically measurable construct, operationally defined and introduced to the positive psychology literature by Associate Professor Dr. Kristen Neff. It is comprised of three separate constructs. There's self kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. So, having self compassion means being able to relate to yourself in a way that's forgiving, that's accepting, and loving when situations might be less than optimal. So we know that it's similar to, yet less permanent than self love, and that it's distinct from self esteem. But how do we show self compassion? How do we show self compassion? Then there's self kindness. Is about showing self kindness and understanding toward ourselves when we fail at something or when we are hurt. We're talking about self kindness. Rather than being critical or judging ourselves harshly, when we already feel pain, we can recognize and see the negative influence of self judgment and treat ourselves with warmth and patience instead. Oh, yes, we can. So, in short, showing self kindness means treating our work as unconditional, even when we fall short of our own expectations, whether it's through our behaviors or even just our thoughts, because those thoughts will come to mind, won't they? They will come to mind. Now, some examples adapted from Self Compassion Scale, and Neff is going to include these. Giving yourself tenderness and care you need when you're going through a tough time. What are we talking about here? These are some examples that are adapted from the Self Compassion Scale. All right, so this is included here. Giving yourself the tenderness and care you need when you're going through a tough time. Trying to understand and show patience regarding your own perceived personality flaws and being tolerant of your own shortcomings. We know we mess up. We know that things don't go right all the time. But show yourself some compassion. Show yourself some compassion and work through whatever didn't go right. You can't sit in it and wallow in it. You shouldn't do that. Show yourself some self compassion. If you did mess up, if you did do something wrong, you've done it. And now you need to work on yourself and don't beat yourself up constantly. You know you did wrong, but you've got to work on yourself so that the next time something comes up that might make you flow in that way, then it won't happen. Okay, my goodness. Being tolerant of your own shortcomings. It's time for me to close out. So God willing, I will probably come back and finish this. Or you know what? I will probably do it on my podcast. So look out for my podcast. If you've seen my post today, I did a two-part podcast where I finished talking about Ben Hadad and the Israelites, the Samaritans, how he laid siege on Samaria. So, God willing, I'll see you later. I thank you so much for being with me. Now I need to see how to get out of here. I love you so much. Remember tomorrow for from the files of the biblical files, from the biblical files of Dr. Mack will be on God willing at 2:15 live tomorrow, Wednesday. On Thursday, Point of View will be back at 1 o'clock. But look for my podcast because I know sometimes I can't finish every subject. So look for the podcast, okay? I love you. Enjoy your day, night, evening, whenever you're watching. I love you so much. Thank you.